What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Billy Collins.
MATJ.
This is Magician.
And the Jock.
Guys, we are back. Sorry about last week. I was sick. I felt like Dookie.
You didn't smell much better either.
I didn't smell much better now.
You had the crud?
I had the crud.
It's going around. No excuses. I didn't have the crud.
No, you didn't. You didn't. I don't usually get sick, but when I do, it puts me out.
Yeah.
So, but
I had people say, "Hey, man, what's going on? When's the next show coming out?" I'm like, "Oh, we got something big for you coming out."
Yeah, well, here's our big show now.
I'm trying to get a Z-pack for old Billy Balls over here.
No, but we do have a couple guests coming on next week, so we're getting back into that realm. But yeah, we got to film.
On that note, guys, if you know anyone that you think would be good on the show,
yeah.
I mean, we know a lot of people, but nailing people down, I mean, you got to try and schedule 5 people to get one. So if you know someone, or if you're a listener or a watcher or whatever, a viewer.
If you have a suggestion, leave it in the comments down below. Let us know, because we are, we want to bring the best to the channel. We want the best product out there that we can give, and then the highest quality guests that we can obtain.
Yeah.
To
and
tell
we don't know everybody.
Story. We don't. We know a lot of people.
You're pretty close to it. But anyways, we have sputtered enough.
Yes, so today's topic might ruffle a few feathers.
Well, so we did a show a couple weeks ago on things I've learned since going out as a married guy.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, man.
It sparked a lot of conversation with.
Yeah, the sisterhood came strong.
Yeah, they came
were not
after
happy.
you. They came after you.
They were not. I mean, when they didn't really have any complaints or any actual counter arguments, or I just didn't like it. So I was like, okay, well, there's something about this male-female dynamic thing that is sparking some interest.
Yeah.
And as the saying goes, you don't take fire unless you're over the target.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're flying a plane and there's no enemy combatants, you're not close to the enemy, you're not going to get fired at. Not saying women are the enemy, but
no. But
do you want to kind of set this up?
So we had a conversation. We go over different topics before, and we've tried to get a good basis. And the one we agreed on today was, should we call them the tale of the boss ladies?
So they're well, we call them boss bees, I guess you could say. And that is, I mean, we've had a lot of entrepreneurs on the show.
Yeah.
Really ambitious people, male or female.
Yeah.
And
we're equal opportunists.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I've had a lot of conversations with highly successful women. Mm-hmm. And I guess I have a grasp on this male-female dynamic thing more than most, simply because I probably just looked into it a little bit.
Yeah.
And
you ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, I love psychology.
I mean, you love that psychology side of people, and just to get to know people. And that kind of like when you go out, it's not that you're going out to hook up. You actually generally want to talk to people and get the.
It's a lot of fun too, but you do start to notice trends.
But you like to talk to people about that.
Yeah, man. You just come up with kind of a theory, and you're like, hey, I think this might be true. You go out and test it, try to prove it or disprove it or whatever. But for whatever reason, over the last couple weeks, I've had people reach out. I know when we posted that show a couple weeks ago, I had a girl reach out from my past and said, oh, I'm definitely going to watch this show. I'm kind of going through it and her marriage. And, obviously I'm not going to blow up her spot or anything like that. She didn't say anything, reveal anything crazy or whatever, but the topic spoke to her. And the problem is she is very, very successful. Financially. Mm-hmm. So as men, we realize to attract women, we have to be, physically attractive, hopefully, economically attractive, mm-hmm. which means on average, women don't find guys that earn less than they do attractive, at least economically, right? And you've talked about this too. You've talked to a couple people. What do they tell you? The first marriage is what?
First marriage is for love. Second marriage is for money, which it's going to be the topic of the show next week with one of our friends that we're coming in. But yeah, it's it's crazy when I hear that.
Well, it's not though, because it's biological, right? There is something called hypergamy, which, you know, men and women, we have different dating strategies, obviously. You know, women are quality, men are quantity. Mm-hmm. You know, at the end of the day, we talked in the previous show and shows before about these quote unquote double standards that really will make men or women mad. And, you know, it's not a double standard, it's a different standard.
Yeah.
Right? Because men and women aren't the same. But hypergamy, you know, generally women are going to date above them. As I always tell guys, look, your girl wants to look up to you in every single facet, right? A simple way is height. Mm-hmm. You don't typically see women taller than their mates, right? So if there's a girl who's 6'2", but she's still a female, right? She's going to desire someone taller than her.
Yeah.
And I can actually kind of pity that, because the average height in the U.S. is what, 6 foot or 5'10", something like that, shorter than what she is. So there's a very limited dating pool.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Is I feel bad because their pool of people just shrunk.
Yeah, because you can't help what you find attractive, right? We always talk about you can't negotiate desire.
Yeah,
you just can't negotiate desire. So I've talked to these highly ambitious women. You know, in some cases have been married, and you know, they've kind of voiced very similar things, and I've read enough about this, and you can look at divorce statistics, what happens, the point where the woman surpasses the man in income, the divorce rate's off the charts. It's not even close. Now, there's always exceptions, guys. Like, this stuff isn't a straitjacket, but you know, if you ever watch Fresh and Fit podcast, Myron talks about, look, we're talking in terms of probabilities, not possibilities. The probabilities are pretty good. If your girl or your wife surpasses you in income, that's essentially like she surpassed you in height. Yeah. She almost doesn't find you that attractive anymore.
Because she doesn't have anyone to look up to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a respect thing. And a lot of these cases, when I'm talking with these, you know, highly ambitious women, these highly successful women, I'm like, look, are you bored? And they're like, God, yeah, I'm bored out of my mind. You know, and a lot of times it comes down to they have lost a level of respect for their husband.
Well, and I'm sure it's a little bit of the chase is gone too. Like that, the man is, for me, I can't speak for all men, but I love the chase. You know, I love the whole process of meeting someone, getting to know somebody, going out with them, and whatever leads on to that. But once that chase is gone, the woman feels a little bit almost deprived of.
It could, yeah. I mean, but we can't. It's hard not to. We don't want to attach the male brain to the female brain. They're, you know, we are the hunters. They are the hunted.
Yeah.
In a completely consensual way,
but
yeah,
that
is true for men. You know, a men's job is to attain the woman, and the woman's job a lot of times is to retain the man after having sex. Right? There's a Lil Wayne song that says, as soon as I come to my senses. Mm-hmm. Right? That post whatever clarity. So for a lot of women, it's difficult. That's keeping a man after having sex with them is the difficult part. For men, it's actually getting her to have sex with you is the difficult part. But yeah, that can certainly be. But I think the problem is, I think Rollo Tomasi talks about this. Women wake up every day, every morning, look at their guy and say, is he the best I can do? Is he the best I can do? Now that's a big question, right? But if that answer is no, it's not that she'll leave right away. And this has been true I'm telling you, I've had some pretty intimate conversations with women that are sitting here like, oh my God, it's my marriage. Like I have children.
Yeah.
And
it's my livelihood.
The worst, like this is my family, my life. Like I feel horrible. And I said, no, the reality is they feel horrible that they don't feel horrible for having these thoughts, right? Because you cannot negotiate.
And I take it that's the desire just isn't there.
They don't look up to him anymore.
Yeah.
And that as soon as they answered, no, he's not the best I can do. Now, not saying that it's guaranteed they could do better, but the perception is, I could probably do better. And if that sprinkles in, they don't leave right away. I mean, in some of these cases, they've stayed married for, 6 months, a couple years. They've been living in this. However, that desire has gone.
Yeah, and I feel like, I know from firsthand experience, I feel like that kind of happened in my marriage because I was...
Very common.
Yeah, I was, okay, I'll do this. Even though I was the breadwinner still, I made more money. Yeah. But still, I was like, okay, I need to do this, this, and this. I took on that beta role like we talked about in one of our other videos. And I just felt like the respect for me just diminished.
Yeah. Yeah, and and they've all commented that too. That, they'd always thought, man, the only way I would ever leave him is if he ran out on me, or if he did something, if he hit me, if I found him doing drugs, something that's culturally acceptable as being bad. But
he just picked up all the groceries and did all the toilets for me.
Yeah, I just happen to be really, really good at my job, and now I earn 5 times more than he does. Because in a lot of these cases, the gender roles have been reversed.
Uh-huh.
And what I mean by that, for a woman, to become very successful in the business world, you have to take on a lot of masculine traits, right? You can't be as agreeable. Women on average are more agreeable. You mentioned Jordan Peterson. I think we talked about it before the show. He talks about this. And we're talking in generalities, right? There are some agreeable guys and disagreeable women, but on average, women are more agreeable than men. That's why studies show they're less likely to ask for a raise than a man will, right? It's how they're wired. Well, to make it in business, you have to take on a lot of those masculine traits.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be a hard driver. You got to be willing to put in the hours. You have to be less agreeable. You have to be more aggressive, always be closing, those types of things. And they really take on they start to embody the traits that they find attractive in a man.
Yeah, and I would think on top of that too, they're probably looking at their value, their clock, whatever, we would talk about that pool of people. Well, if you have someone that's 37, 38 years old, boss B, making this money, now she's got to try to find someone that she can look up to. But her pool is so small because...
It's the same way, a woman who makes $500,000 a year is kind of like a woman who might be 6'2", right? The 6'2" woman's going to desire a guy taller than her, right? Just like the woman who's making $500,000 a year is going to desire a guy who earns more than that.
Right.
One case it's physical attractiveness, the other case it's economic attractiveness. But you're right. It is kind of a cruel... It is kind of cruel, right? Now, I'll get pushback a little bit. It's like, that's because men are intimidated by women that earn more than they do. I don't know if that's true. I'm trying to think, am I intimidated? But I think the reality is it's not that we're intimidated by women that make more than us. It's that we're invisible in terms of the economic side to women who make more than us.
And on the flip side of that too, the guys that stay home and become the Mr. Moms because their spouse makes more money.
Sense.
Yeah, it's not that they're what'd you say? It's not they're jealous because the female makes more money. It's just that's his role now. The roles are reversed for the situation.
So the gender roles start to reverse, and in each of these cases, I've talked to them. I'd ask, I'm like, well, first of all, so they've essentially broken up with their man in their mind, right? Yeah. So if your woman files for divorce today, she broke up with you a year ago,
yeah.
6 months ago, whatever, and she's essentially said, it's like being in a job that you don't like. I'm not fulfilled in this job. Maybe I've maxed out my ceiling.
And
I'm not going to quit right away, but I might start checking some job postings, floating my resume out there to
Test
see
the waters.
Yeah, to see if there's something better out there before I jump ship.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to just say, well, I'm not fulfilled, quit. Now I'm going back to zero. And in a lot of cases for women, it's the same way. Especially if they're married, they have children, and they still desire a relationship. And I've cautioned each of them because I had that same conversation as you had. I said, look, you're in your mid-30s. You're a beautiful girl, but you're in your mid-30s. You might have a couple kids in tow, and you're earning a ton of money. So you're still going to find men that are a couple years older than you, call it 37, 38, earning, in one case, girl, I haven't looked at her front page of her 1090 or 1099, but I guess she's probably north of $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
So she's going to desire a guy that's still
making
really
money,
great shape,
yeah.
making at least 650, 750. That's older than her, taller than her, more ambitious, smarter, everything. And she's like, yeah, that's what I want. I'm like, yeah, but that guy has unlimited options.
Yeah, he's more options than what?
Unlimited. She realizing she has to compete now with the 23, 24, 25, beautiful, young, fertile. That's when we look at beauty, you look at fertility, especially if that man wants to start a family, have a legacy. They don't have any kids in tow. And another conversation I've had with him is, that guy, to be able to earn that much money, he's got to bust his ass. Like, he's out there, as we
hustling
we like to say, trying to put a dent in the universe, just like she is. More times than not, that guy's not going to want to date someone just like he is.
Yeah. He's not going.
You want a soft place to land.
Yeah, you don't need someone that's and we applaud a woman that's going to go out and hustle and do it. But you have to face the facts and the realization that there's not probably going to be a man that of higher stature values that are going to work with that, because like Matt said, he's got options. He can go find someone that's younger, that's more fertile, that has no baggage, or and looks up to him.
And maybe it's just more agreeable, more. For men, we're pretty simple, right? We want a woman who's attractive, agreeable, and loyal.
Yeah,
that's kind of it, right? For the most part, men, we don't care about what a woman makes. We don't care her income. It seems like it might as well be monopoly money, right?
Yeah.
And now that's not degrading that. And for girls hearing that, think, oh, they're talking down to women. You don't think our money's worth anything. Well, let's flip it. And if I was coming out and say, hey, ladies, I'm looking for a girl that makes $500,000 to take care of me, you're gonna be like, he's a bum.
Yeah.
You don't want to leech. That's kind of the reality, the flip side. So
that's so true. So
the
true.
men who would be attracted to her wealth are not going to be the ones that she's not looking for another child.
And I'm curious too, if you're watching this and you agree or disagree, leave us a comment down below, because I'm curious of what you would think if a guy came up to you, ladies, if a guy came up and knowing that you made $500,000, north of $500,000, and he said, hey, I just
more
want,
than him,
or I just want someone to take care of me. I'm curious, would you guys respect that or wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, in reality, he's not going to come right out. Not going to come right out and say it like that. But that's kind of what it's communicating.
Yeah.
Right. Just the same way a petite girl who's attracted to strong, masculine, tall men is communicating, hey, I see benefits and protection from this guy. Right. Yeah. There's some unspoken communication. Well, it's the same way there. And I've had that conversation with them, and they realize that. That's why I told her, and I sent her an article I wrote about this, and in there I put, I pity the boss bee. And I remember she texted me back, like, you pity? Like, pity in all caps. You pity us? She's like, I've got whatever I want. I can buy whatever I want. I said, yeah. I'm like, did you read the rest? And then having a conversation with her, she's like, okay, I get what you were saying.
Yeah. Because
I can see it's very predictable. And we see this a lot too. If you look at the statistics, I don't know why I became such a marriage nerd and statistics nerd, but we always grew up saying, look, 50% end in divorce. For me, it was, well, they're 50. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
That ain't me. I'm in the right 50.
Well, I think you study it so you won't get a divorce.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so interesting. I love studying trends, love studying psychology, and we're all trying to figure out how the world works.
All right, so I'm gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Mm-hmm. So if a woman wants to be the boss lady, the boss bee, whatever we're going to say, how can she do that successfully and still find her man attractive? Or what can a guy do?
Or how can she attract the man she finds attractive?
Right, yeah.
Right. So I think it's the man's responsibility to be attractive, but
100%. But I guess a two-part questions. Mm-hmm. If you're married and you're the breadwinner and you have a Mr. Mom, should you bring it up? Should you communicate with him? Like, hey, look, I'm not having these feelings. We might need to do something? Or what dynamic would you propose to solve something like that?
Or is it solvable?
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, I truly believe you can't negotiate desire. Right. So there's all kinds of books, the 5 love languages, mm-hmm. All of these things that look at kind of probably guys like me who love to watch trends. Like, hey, when he performs an act of service, she really smiles. But when she gives him a word of affirmation, you can tell I've read that book. He really, I'm going to try and put these in. We're trying to make irrational, emotional desire, trying to make it predictable, right? And it's just, a lot of those books are designed to how to build a better beta.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another Rollo Tomasi thing.
Yeah.
But essentially, if you're a girl and you are very ambitious, or a lot of times in all these cases I've talked to, their parents or a lot of times their fathers raised them to be independent.
Yeah, I did with my girls. Yeah,
you probably the same way.
Yeah,
right?
Both my girls. I want to.
You don't want to. You're not gonna just raise a damsel in distress. Like, hey, because for a lot of these high achieving, high ambitious women, it sounds a lot like I'm saying you got to dumb it down. You need to become a basic bee.
Yeah.
That's what the boss bees look at the stay-at-home moms as basic bees, right?
Yeah.
So like, what can you do? Well, if I'm a woman and I'm making $500 a year and my husband's making $50, well, what is that conversation supposed to be like? And how can she have that without coming off sounding like an actual bee? Hey, buddy,
yeah.
you need to at a bare minimum 10 times your income so that I can find you attractive.
Start dropping Grant Cardone books.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, and I've had that conversation with them too, because they've always said, like, what should I do? What should I do? And they're essentially, they're torn, right? Because, hey, we took vows. This is why a lot of times couples who get married really early, it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the woman is marrying that man's potential, mm-hmm. right? We talked on a previous show, look, men, we look at a woman's past. Women, they look at a man's future, right? So they're taking a gamble. That's why it's so important.
We've said that many times, yeah.
Expensive eggs, cheap seed, right? So they're taking a gamble. They realize, hey, I've got such a short window to procreate, to have a family, to whoever I got to pick. And if that gamble doesn't pay off, or if they get married so young and she finds out she she comes up with Tinder. That's the founder of that. Or Kelly Clarkson's another great example. And they saw that divorce when she surpassed her husband.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unwiring a lot of the stuff that their parents did, which is going to be really difficult.
Yeah.
Because they've been told, and in each case, these women I've talked to, that I said, would you consider yourself a strong, independent woman? They're like, oh, hell yeah. And I said, independent from who? Independent from what? It's from men. That's how they are raised, which if you're a parent of daughters, you're not trying to raise a dependent woman, but you see now there's no such thing as a solution. There's only a trade-off.
Yeah.
There's a trade-off.
And it's kind of like a setback too, because if, like in my case, I raised independent women, and then when you brought that up a few months ago, independent from who? From men. Well, now it almost like destined for them to be alone.
Well, you're like, shit, did I curse them?
Yeah, it's
my God.
What did I just do? Like,
am I wrong for wanting them to
and I want them to be strong,
self-sufficient?
but I also want them to have, a good partner that complements.
It's a what's not really talked about. So marriage rates today are the lowest they've been since they've started keeping them, over 100 years.
Yeah.
Right? Something like 5 out of 1,000 or out of 10,000. It's 100+ year lows. And a big reason why, this isn't a blame women or blame men, a big reason why though is women today are able to do a lot of the things that they depended on men in the past to do, right? Healthcare is a lot better now. So the risk of death during childbirth, there's birth control now. Birth control changed the game.
Yeah,
probably
drastically.
Probably more than the internet. Birth control changed the game, so they can delay having children, still have their fun, right? Their party years. Some people call it a hoe phase through their 20s. They can still do that, and it's almost it takes the responsibility away, right? I can be on birth control, which is 99.999% effective, and even if I get pregnant, a lot of them don't have moral qualms with going out and having an abortion, right? So they can kind of have their cake and eat it too, whereas before it wasn't like that. It was.
That's true. Yeah.
That's so that we can't apply traditional standards to a modern world, right? Everyone talks about how schooling needs to be changed, right? How many times have you heard it? Henry Ford created the schools to create factory workers.
Yeah.
Right? Which there is some truth to that. And everyone would agree, like, hey, I would say the same needs to be applied to a lot of the different institutions.
In marriage.
Marriage being an institution like that.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was either Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley or one of those financial companies wrote an article called The Rise of the She Economy. The Rise of the She Economy. And it basically was saying how, I don't know if it was women between like 30 and 40 or 30 and 45, how about 40% of them were going to be unwed and childless. Right? So it's a huge shift. It kind of terrifies me for the country, right? Because you have children that will be contributing members to society, which is another way of saying taxpayers in the future to pay for old guys like us to have things like Medicare, have things like Social Security, and it's just a different world. So I mean, my advice has been to these ambitious women is to just understand, the grass, as the saying is, the grass isn't always greener, but they do kind of feel stuck, right? Because in all cases, I've asked them, hey, do you think your guy would do anything like to betray your trust, do anything like that? They're like, absolutely not. And I said, okay, do you think he would be destroyed if you left him? And they said, yeah. And I said, that is precisely why you're thinking about leaving him. And she's like, what? No, that's not
it. That's 100%.
And I say, no, I'm not. I was like, no, I'm not attaching malice to this. What I'm saying though is, you wake up every morning, the woman, is he the best I can do? If the flip side is true, if she wakes up every morning and she feels like she is overwhelmingly the best he could do, oh, the cringe, oh, the lack of. For men, it's a lot of times it's a respect thing. They want to look up to you, right? So I haven't made any prescriptions, and I told them, look, you're eating 2 shit sandwiches. One's on wheat bread, one's on white bread, but it's still a shit sandwich. You got to figure it out. Reality is, if you divorce him and go live with your own, here's the reality: you make a ton of money, Sure, you're pretty, but you were prettier 10, 15 years ago. You have 2 kids in tow, and you're going to be attracted to men that are taller than you, more ambitious than you, smarter than you, make more money than you, like all of those things.
Yeah, the value, higher value.
Which all women are going to be like that. The problem is she's like that 6'2" chick that's still attracted to guys taller than her. The 6'2" girl's not attracted to a 6'2" guy. She still wants to wear heels. She still wants to. So there's got to be 3 or 4 inch wiggle room.
This whole video just kills my 5'9" ego right now.
It does, but the only thing worse than being a 5'9" guy is to be a 5'9" girl, right? Because there's way more women that are under 5'9" than there are men that are above 5'9".
This is true. This is true.
And the taller you are as a guy, just like the more money you make as a man, the more ambitious, the higher intellect you have, all of those things, it's check, check, check. Your options become unlimited.
So
So what's the advice? It's to look at the factors. This is what makes us human, right? We're self-aware. If you're going through a rut, you could have emotions tied to it and just be like, I don't know what's going wrong. But you could also sit back and just pretend you were like a reporter, like you or me watching you, and you could just take notes on why might this be happening.
Yeah.
There usually is as the saying goes, you are wonderfully unique, just like everyone else.
And also too, like you have to be prepared that you may end up alone. Well, I mean,
that's what do we say to them? Stock up on cat food.
Yeah, because I like you said, the pool is going to be smaller. The grass may not be that greener on the other side.
And the thing, and I don't want it to, like, there are always be men, especially, I would say, just like as men, we have to understand intrinsically what a woman finds attractive and work on those things.
Yeah. Right. And I do think that it plays a big part for the men as well to look.
No doubt.
Guys, if you want to keep your woman that is a higher status than you are, then you need to up your shit too. I mean, you need to. If you're fat, go to the gym. If you're complacent, get uncomplacent. If you're making $50,000 and you should be doing more, make more money. It's just.
Yeah, you can't take your foot off the gas. But
I think also is to be aware of this happens.
Yeah, I was going to say, because for a lot of men, they say that the punch that hurts the most is the one you don't see coming. And we've talked to a lot of men going through divorce, and I see it, and I'm like, God, no duh. This is like, I could have told you this was going to... To me, it's not surprising now. I don't have any emotions involved with it. But as a man, hopefully you can look at this logically and not take it personally when those things happen. You don't take it personally when a woman's taller than you doesn't find you attractive. Even though you might find her attractive. You're like, I'm not intimidated by her. But you realize, look, I gotta be 3 times as good to have half the chance, simply because she's taller than you.
Yep.
So you got to be like, you better with the shit you can control, you better maximize that stuff. Like you can't afford to be short. You can't afford to be short and fat.
Yeah, keep the foot on the pedal.
Keep it on it, and guys, just I do there's unintended consequences of women in the workforce, and of women achieving a lot of personal success. One of the unintended consequences, and every single one I've talked to has admitted this, is that they've been required to take on the masculine characteristics that they find desirable in a man. Yep. They're required to do that. And they've also admitted, like, gosh, I mean, it's hard work, right? To put a dent. It's hard to have it all. You can't, right? Because women... I think it might have been on Fresh and Fit, but they say, look, they all have different hardware, but the same software, right? So a 5'2" woman and a 6'2" woman, different hardware, but their software is they still desire someone taller than them, right? The 5'2" has obviously way more in that on that bell curve.
And we talk about this, the height, because it's easy way to
It's
relate
something
to.
no one's gonna argue with it.
Yeah, so
Nobody's gonna argue with it.
But yeah, so guys, at the end of the day, we kind of want everybody to have that person that's going to compliment them in whatever way to be happy and to be successful, both man and woman. So leave us a comment down below. I mean, if we,
I don't think we've said anything controversial.
No, I don't. I'm hoping this helps people, and it kind of is an eye-opening for.
It's one of those,
not only just the boss lady but the man.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. I mean, you ever realize the older you get, the more you're like, man, it just is what it is. Like the zebra doesn't ask why his stripes are black.
Yeah.
Right? There are certain things, but my hope is for women that are in that position these women feel horrible. They feel terrible. They feel like the worst people ever because they took these vows, they took these things, and their husband hasn't done anything wrong. If anything, he's the most loyal, loving, does everything for them. Like, if they, before getting married, if they had to write out what they wanted in a spouse, man, he checks them all. But they can't get over, there's other factors in play.
Yeah.
It comes down to respect. So for women to understand that, and also for men to realize it, right? To realize that's in play. And if your chick, if you would be absolutely destroyed if your woman left you, right? If you're watching right now and you're saying, man, if my wife left, I mean, I would probably do something, there'd be some self-harm, right? I would have no reason to go on. My life would be over. If that's you, I hate to say it, but that communicates to your woman.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time. It is just a matter of time. So what is that? Even if that's true, don't let that show.
Yeah. I love that when you're talking about, you have your traits, your good traits, 10x those things, to stay relevant, because marriage is not, it's fun, but it's not easy,
Yeah, I mean, it is when you understand these things.
Yeah, and that's what we're kind of hoping to bring
Or I
to the
should
table.
say it's simple. It's not easy. It's very simple.
No, I mean, yeah, but that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I'll reach out to him. We'll have to probably do some more on this, and maybe we can get some. If you're a boss B and you're like, no, first of all,
disagree.
I know there's a lot of female unicorns watching. I've met so many unicorns, but there are exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
But an exception proves the rule. It doesn't disprove it.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on, or leave a comment, or maybe we can call you, or whatever the case may be. But with that being said, we are back. Sorry about the layoff. Do us a big favor. Hit that subscribe button.
Smash the like button.
And we'll see you on the next video.
Peace.